The Friends TV show creators' $4 million apology for lack of diversity is embarrassed. So the one with guilt. Friends has long been criticized for its lack of diversity, but co-creator Marta Kaufman is finally ready to admit her failure with a $4 million apology. Hey, I wouldn't mind, taking your $4 million, just saying. Kaufman, 65, initially struggled to grasp the difficult and frustrating criticisms of her television series, choosing to believe the successful show was being singled out, she told the Los Angeles Times. But nearly 2 decades after the show wrapped, Kaufman has begun to see the error of her ways. I've learned a lot in the last 20 years, Kaufman said in a Zoom interview. Admitting and accepting guilt is not easy. It's painful looking at yourself in the mirror. I'm embarrassed that I didn't know better 25 years ago, the television writer said. The popular show, which ran from 1994 to 2004, features a group of six white heterosexual best friends living in Greenwich Village, a famously gay neighborhood in New York City, a historically diverse city. Throughout the 10-year run of the show, the sitcom continued to whitewash New York City and rarely featured a character of color. Friends only introduced two recurring characters of color, both of whom were brought on as short lived love interests for Ross. Along with millions of other Americans, the 2020 murder of George Floyd pushed Kaufman to reckon with the country's racist past and her own part in perpetuating systems of racism. I knew then I needed to course correct, she explained, in an attempt to redeem herself. Kaufman pledged $4 million to her alma mater, Brandeis University, to fund an endowed chair in the school's African American Studies department, one of the oldest in the country. Now here's the thing, this doesn't really make any sense because if you feel bad about not having a more diverse cast on a TV show, why not just create another TV show that's more diverse? That's actually a good TV show, and that makes the cast on that TV show multi-millionaires. Why don't you do that instead of doing this weird apology? Why not make something awesome that everyone can benefit from and enjoy? So the Marta F. Kaufman 78 professorship in African American Studies will support a distinguished scholar with a concentration in the study of the peoples and cultures of Africa and the African diaspora, and assist the department to recruit more expert scholars and teachers, map long-term academic and research priorities, and provide new opportunities for students to engage in interdisciplinary scholarship, the Waltham, Massachusetts-based university announced. And here's the thing. Just from this statement alone, right here, the Marta F. Kaufman 78 professorship, okay? She just wants her name tied to it, okay? This is all for attention, right? Whereas if she were to create an awesome show with a diverse cast, because all those characters are awesome, and that show makes millions of dollars, and those people get residuals from that, guess what? That's way more impactful because you're actually truly benefiting people in that kind of category instead of just basically being like, oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Accept my apology with my name plastered against all this other stuff. It's like, dear Lord. It took me a long time to begin to understand how I internalized systematic racism, or systemic racism, Kaufman told Brandeis. I've been working really hard to become an ally and anti racist, and this seemed to me to be a way that I could participate in the conversation from a white woman's perspective. Again, like this is the thing. She's still making it about her. This whole thing is about her. This has like nothing to do with actually like improving diversity. This is all like I want my name out there so that people can see it. That I'm trying to be more inclusive. It's so stupid. Last year, Friends the Reunion aired to honor the iconic show, its beloved characters, and die-hard fans, and the show faced renewed calls to address its glaring lack of diversity, but Kaufman didn't feel it was appropriate. I don't know how the two were related. I also don't know how we could have addressed it in that context of that reunion, going into all the things we did wrong, and there were others, she told the LA Times. Kaufman has spoken out in recent years about her regrets from the show, telling the Hollywood Reporter ahead of the reunion that there are probably 100 things I would have done differently, but clarified that the cast was not consciously chosen to be entirely white. By the way, if you truly think if you stumble upon this, that she actually believed that she would have done things differently. This show, I believe, has made billions of dollars. Okay, you're really going to try to like claim like, oh yes, I regret what I did because the show is uber successful, right? It's like, no. The thing is, if she actually wanted to, there's literally nothing stopping her creating an awesome show with a diverse set of characters and having those characters because they're just awesome characters, right? So, however, her co creator Kevin Bright doubled down on his choices, noting the chemistry between Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, David Schwimmer, Matt LeBlanc, and Matthew Perry. And here's the thing, right? I don't think Friends could have worked out so well in its time and years beyond that if they had different people on there. Like, that's the reality. I would have been insane not to hire those six actors. What can I say? I wish Lisa was black, he told the Hollywood Reporter. Kaufman told the LA Times that she has received nothing but love since announcing the $4 million pledge, along with people acknowledging it was long overdue. But again, this is all about her wanting attention, her wanting approval, right? But the thing is, this still doesn't even do anything in terms of like making TV shows more diverse. Because you gotta think about it. She is a co creator on a massively successful TV show. Why not use the $4 million to again create a massively successful TV show that is diverse? Like, it's just so stupid. Again, in this case, I'm finally, literally, putting my money where my mouth is, Kaufman said. I feel I was finally able to make some difference in the conversation. I don't think so. I think this is all about you wanting attention, you wanting approval, without really doing anything. I have to say, after agreeing to this and when I stopped sweating, it didn't unburden me, but it lifted me up. But until in my next production, I can do it right, it isn't over. I want to make sure from now on in every production I do that I am conscious in hiring people of color and actively pursue young writers of color. I want to know I will act differently from now on, and then I will feel unburdened. Like, and this is the thing, right? It's like, if you want to create a diverse TV show, create an awesome TV show that happens to have people in it that are different races, different sexes, different beliefs, blah, blah, blah. But you still got to create a good TV show. If you're only going to hire people because of the color of their skin or because they just look different than you, but they're not actually good at the job, that doesn't fix the issue. That doesn't solve the problem. Like, you want to hire people who are awesome, period. Let's see, anything in the comments? If there is comments. Yeah. Along with millions of Americans, the murderer of George Floyd, pleasing enough, he was a career criminal in the act of committing a crime. Yes, the police went overboard and used excessive force, but that incident is being used to create a belief that most of us were always racist. It is simply not true, and the officers involved paid the price for their actions. Did the show accurately reflect the majority of young groups in New York City in the early 90s? If so, nothing to apologize for. Your job was to create a show that ultimately would make money. You did that. So tired of people apologizing for things they did before they became woke. By the way, your money isn't going to change anything. It did not reflect life on this planet. It was a stupid show. She should apologize for that. Dun, bum, bum, bum. La- oh, LOL. So what? I'm not white, and this was an accurate representation of a friend group in the 90s, and to a large part even today. Yes, a lot of minorities live in New York City, but New York City in the Northeast in general is extremely segregated and is mostly voluntarily. Most people vibe best with those they relate to the most. It is what it is. And that's something that people don't really understand, right? Like, a lot of these like major cities are very segregated just because of the cultural differences. Like, there's a lot of Koreans in Koreatown. There's a lot of Chinese people in Chinatown, and they don't really mesh together even though they're both Asians, right? As like an example, right? There's a lot of Orthodox Jewish people that are very separated than other types of Jewish people. So like, you got to keep that in mind. Like, there's a lot of segregation just due to personal preference as well, right? Like, there's some minorities that just want to stay together because that's where they feel more at home, right? So something to keep in mind as well. I just hate seeing people apologizing in such a BS way, right? It's like, hey, if you really want to create an awesome TV show with diverse people, then go and do it. Create an awesome TV show with a diverse cast, because every single person within that cast are awesome. If you want to learn how to get out of debt, master your money, go to 40inbox.com. Stay tuned for more news commentary.